Back to decimals, add and subtract. This is something that is fairly simple. I think that you probably already know it, but we'll do a quick review just in case you need a refresher. So to add decimals, you merely need to line up the decimals. Let me give you an example. If you were to add 7.25 plus 3.46, you would need to write this addition problem like this. So I'm going to do a little squiggly line. I'm going to write it down here as 7.25 plus 3.46. You have lined up the decimals and all the numbers are lined up. So every number to the left of the decimal in the ones place is lined up. Your 1/10th place is lined up and your 1/100th place is lined up. Then you just go ahead and do the addition as you would without the decimals, but you will be carrying that decimal down like so. So 5 plus 6 is 11. We put 1 in the ones place, carry over the other one. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and 7 plus 3 is 10. Therefore, your answer is 10.71, and that is how you do addition. Now, it does get a little bit more, not tricky, but just different if you have numbers that do not have the same amount on the whole number side or the decimal side. So we'll show you, I'm going to show you that. Say you have 130.72 and you're going to add 7.6542. Okay, so here we have 3 numbers on the whole number side and 1 number on the one number side, 2 numbers on the decimal side, and 4 numbers on the decimal side. Once again, you make sure that the decimal points line up. So I'm going to write this number first, 130.72. And what makes it easy for me is to go ahead and put that decimal in. I'm going to add the decimal part of this number first, 6542, and then I'm going to add the whole number 7 here. You don't have to do it that way. If your brain works better where you just put that in first and then do the decimal part, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. Here, you can leave this blank. If you're the type that wants to have a visual, you can add in zeros, because zeros are just placeholders at this point. If there's no other number on this side, zeros are just placeholders. So we're going to go ahead and do this addition problem. 0 plus 2 is 2. 0 plus 4 is 4. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 6 is 13. We'll put the 3 first down, carry that 1. 0 and 7 is 7, plus that 1 is 8. And then here again, we have nothing. You could add zeros, but we don't really need to do that. Just bring down the 3 and the 1, and then we're going to bring that decimal straight down. So our answer is 138.3742. So that is your examples on how to add with decimals. And subtraction is just the like. So let's say you have 10.75 minus 1.25. You will write it this way. I'm going to do a little squiggly line, and then we're going to write it down here. 10.75 minus 1.25. So we've lined up the decimals. We have the same amount of decimal numbers on each side, so that makes it kind of easy. 5 minus 5 is 0, 7 minus 2 is 5, and 10 minus 1 is 9. We just bring that decimal down. Same thing with subtraction. As I showed you with addition, when you have different amounts of numbers on either side of the decimal. So let's say we have 372.1 minus 53.284. So as you can see, there is not the same amount of numbers on either side of the decimal on both of these numbers. So we're going to start with the larger, or the first number, I'm going to do a little squiggly line. We're going to write it down here. 372.1. Okay, so now we're going to write this number underneath. We're going to subtract 53.284. And I think this is where it comes in really handy to put those zeros in, because we're used to having some kind of number or that zero marker above in order to do that subtraction. So here we have 0 minus 4. Well, we can't take 4 away from 0, so we need to borrow. And since we can't borrow from the number next door, we have to go to that next door neighbor. So here we have a 1. We're going to borrow from the 1, which will leave us 0 again. This wasn't the best setup. And we are going to put 9 here and a 1. We're going to bring that 0 up here so we can see it better. Okay, 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 minus 8 is 1, 0 minus 2, once again we have to borrow. I just made this whole number up and it wasn't a very great example, but maybe that will remind you about borrowing. So we have to borrow from the 2 to add a 1 over here. We have that 1 remaining. 10 minus 2 is 8. We're going to bring that decimal right down here. Once again, we have to borrow. We're going to have 6 left over, and we're going to add that 1. So 11 minus 3 is 8. 6 minus 5 is 1, and we just bring the 3 straight down. So our answer is 318.816. Let's do one more. Whoops. And not make it so crazy. How about 100.14 minus 27.03. And this is really easy because the decimal lines up with the same amount of numbers on both sides. 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 minus 0 is 1. Oh, here I'm into this carrying over a bit. 0 minus 7, can't do it. Can't borrow from a 0, must borrow from a 1. So if we're going to borrow 1, we have nothing left over. We drop a 9 here as a placeholder, and we put that 1 here, which is going to make it 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 2 is 7. 73.11 is our answer. So I think that you would remember about subtraction, but I'm going to try and explain this borrowing nonsense. So if we have 103 minus 25. So what I was doing here is 3 minus 5. You can't take 5 away from 3, so you have to borrow. So we come over here to our neighbor and say, can we borrow 1? And because it's 0, she has to say no. Go next door and see if you can borrow 1. So we go next door and we say, can we borrow 1? And if you have 1 in the math world, you have to give away 1. So yes, this neighbor will let you have 1. So now that this neighbor is giving away that 1, it ends up with 0. And because you're going to need 1 here, this is actually like saying, sure, I'll give you 100. And this neighbor is going to need some of that 100. So we're going to drop 90 off here because this is in the tens place, and we're going to drop off a 10 more here in the ones place. So this 3 gets joined with that 10 to make it 13. So 13, 10 in the ones place that we borrowed, 90 in the tens place that we borrowed equals that 100 over here that we borrowed. Because if we took a 1 away from this 100s, we took actually 100 away. It's like kind of like borrowing money. So now we can do the math problem. 13 minus 5 is 8. 9 minus 2 is 7. So 103 minus 25 is 78. And if you're a little bit confused when you do it, you can always add these and see if it adds up to that. Just checking your work, 25 and 78. 5 and 8 is 13. 1 and 2 is 3, plus 7 is 10. So we did this correct. I'm going to just do one more subtraction just to show the borrowing thing. I think you remember it, but I'm just not sure. So it's better to review than to assume. So let's say we have 342 minus 59. 2 minus 9. Well, there's not enough to subtract 9 away from 2, so we have to go next door. Knock, knock, knock. Can we borrow 1 out of your place? And this is the tens place. So when we borrow 1, scratch that out, 3 is left. And we say, sure, because I'm the tens place, when you borrow 1 from me, I can only give units away in tens. So when I put the 1 up here, it's like saying 10 plus this 2 is what you have left. So now you have 12. I'm just gonna make this a little bit, it's kind of messy. 12 minus 9 is 3. So here we have 3 minus 5. You cannot take 5 away from 3. You will end up with a negative number, yes, but in this case, you cannot take 5 away from 3. So 3 is gonna go next door and say, hey, I need to borrow 1. Sure, my ones come in $100 bundles. Okay, I need that. He can't say no. He has 2 left, which is really 200. And he's gonna add a 1 here, but this 1 is now a 13 because we added that 1 to the, yes, that 1 to the 3. 13 minus 5 is 8. You have 2 left over. So I'm just trying to think how to explain that if that was a 100. Oh, you have 10 tens plus the 3. I think you remember how this works. It's a little weird because we took that 100 up here, you have 10 tens, and this 3 represents 30. So it's like saying over here, 130 minus 50, and you have 13 minus 5 is 8. And because this 8 represents in the tens place, it is the same as saying 80 because it is representing 8 tens. We can check this out. 283 plus 59 should be 342. 3 plus 9 is 12. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 5 is 14. 1 and 2 is 3. I hope I haven't confused you. I'm just trying to remember how to explain when you borrow what that actually means. I'll just go through one more time if you want to stop the video again, because you're like, either 1, this is too confusing, or 2, I get it. Or if you just want to look at another example for subtraction and borrowing, we're going to do that one more time. Let's just make a big honking big crazy number. 2, 4, 7, 6, 5. So 24,765 minus 2,927. So we have 5 minus 7, which we cannot do, so we need to borrow. Hey neighbor, I need to borrow 1. Okay, neighbor has to say yes, sure, borrow 1. That leaves me 5. I'm gonna put a 1 in front of this one, so that makes 15. 15 minus 7 is 8. 5 minus 2 is 3. That's really easy. 7 minus 9. Well, 7 is less than 9, so we need to borrow because we have to have more than 9 to subtract. Hey neighbor, I need to borrow 1. Sure, because I can't say no. Leaves me 3. I put that 1 in the front here. 17 minus 9 is 8. We go over here, we have 3 minus 2 is 1, and we just carry that 2 straight down, and our answer is 21,838. We're gonna double check to make sure we did that right. 2,108.38 plus 2,927, because we're adding the answer to what we took away to see if it is the same as this number, if you can even read it, because it's a total mess up here now. 8 and 7 is 15. 3 and 2 is 5, plus 1 more is 6. 8 and 9 is 17. 1 and 1 is 2, plus 2 more is 4, and we have 24,765. Alrighty, I think that covers subtraction and borrowing. Just remember, line those decimals up and you are good to go.